All right. Good evening, friends. We are live. Race to the White House 2024. This is the beginning, and this is the beginning for me too. I'm excited to do this, be on this format for the first time, give this a shot. I'm going to make mistakes live here. My plan is to kind of follow the mainstream media, a lot of the independent media, see what they're saying. Tonight in Iowa, there are 40 delegates on the line. Donald Trump is the heavy favorite there. I predict that to be consistent with what I believe will happen. I don't think that Nikki Haley will finish in second place, as a lot of the experts are predicting. I believe Ron DeSantis will. I don't believe Vivek Ramaswamy will have a surge like some folks are predicting either. I think tonight's going to be all about Trump. I expect him to be close to 60%. I posted my prediction a little bit earlier on YouTube and on my Facebook. I think that Trump's going to get about 60% of the votes tonight. I think DeSantis will get, somewhere between 18 and 19%. Haley will be close to 15, Ramaswamy close to 6, and the little-known Ada Hutchinson will get about 1.2%. Like I said, I got the TV going on multiple channels. I'm covering everything from Alex Jones to the Young Turks on the independent media front, and I'll have CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, OAN, Newsmax. I'm going to try to get as many differing viewpoints as I can out here. For the people that are maybe tuning in and seeing me for the first time, I am a Democrat, have been a Democrat my whole life, consider myself very open-minded, have a lot of friends and family of the other persuasion, and that's okay. Through Trump, I have not disowned any of my friends or family. I love them just as much as I did before. Loyalty is something I value very much. Discussion, free speech. As we get this channel rolling and are able to progress a little more into the future, I look forward to having debate and discussion with folks who don't necessarily agree with me. This is what the basis of our country is. It's what we were founded on. And I look forward to engaging in debate with folks that I disagree with. I'm just kind of going through some of the other channels right now. I have YouTube going on to look at a variety of different streamers just to kind of get a vibe for, what people are saying. I want a diverse opinions. That's what it's all about here. One thing about me that I've shared with a lot of my closest friends, I have an optimism about 2026. I think a lot of this division that we've seen will be cleared up by then. I think the last 20 or so years have been very difficult for a lot of people in this country, especially the have-nots, which I definitely am a have-not. I am not a have. The richest people in this country have gotten richer, and the poor people in this country have gotten poorer. I see it in my home community all the time just by getting off a highway. 10 years ago, there was maybe one person with a sign at an exit ramp. Now there's people that are living at these exit ramps. You can't go to a Walmart or, an exit ramp in the Canton community without seeing somebody looking for money or looking for a hand, looking for help. The Salvation Armies are slammed with people that are, needing a little help. Churches slammed with people that need a little bit of help. And our government isn't there to help them. And I don't believe that that's why government exists. But where we've fallen with the corruption in leadership positions is a big reason why we are where we are now. Many of you know that I recently worked for Billy Shear, Ironworkers business manager, leader in the labor community for a really long time. And one of the best quotes that I heard during the campaign was from someone who said, people like your father and your grandfather built this country, Billy. And, the lawyers and the wine and cheese and the elites have completely tore it apart. And I can't tell you how much I agree with that quote. I think it's spot on. It's very unfortunate, but it's true. So a lot of people, ask me why they think that, especially here in Stark County, why 16% of the population voted for Donald Trump and Barack Obama. And it's an interesting question, and it's really hard to give a definitive answer to. But I think a lot of it is just a desire to see something different, to see some kind of change, for the status quo to be different. Barack Obama definitely represented that in 2008. We never had seen anything like his candidacy before. And, I know it sounds crazy, but Donald Trump was very similar to what Barack Obama brought to the table, especially here in Stark County, to voters who, like I said, are desperate for something different. This system does not work for regular people. So when regular people feel disenfranchised, they turn to something new. And that's exactly what's been happening, not just in my hometown, my home county, but nationwide, in a lot of counties that are similar to Stark County. I'm looking at some data from the 2016 campaign where, Donald Trump did not win in Iowa. His momentum really hadn't started to pick up yet. I know he had made his famous escalator ride, but that was really the beginning of his momentum surge. But the debates are where he really stood out, and I think he just won over a ton of independent voters by attacking Jeb Bush and the establishment. And to me, I'm not going to be shy. There are things about Trump that I like. Now, I do view him as an opportunist, so it's difficult to know when he's genuine or not. But when I look at somebody like a Nikki Haley, I see a neocon through and through. Someone who has no problem at all sending our young people off to war to fight and, potentially lose their lives for, what I really view as a meaningless cause. I have so much sympathy for the people in Ukraine, the people in Russia, the people in Israel, the people in Palestine, because the overwhelming majority of those people don't want conflict. They don't want war. They don't even know really what this is all about. And our media acts like that we need this because they're, shills for the military industrial complex. And you go back, and I encourage everyone to listen to the speech that, General Eisenhower gave on his way out of the White House. And to give the short summary of it, he says, beware of the military industrial complex. Now, I support our troops just as much as anybody. I do. The rank and file military are some of the bravest people in the world, without question. And the level of respect I have for them is so high. With that said, it's the objectives of the leadership and the people in the Pentagon that I question. I don't see what we have to gain through these foreign wars. People always want to talk about humanitarianism. Well, let's look at Africa. Let's look at North Korea. We have all these examples of humanitarianism that we choose not to fight. But for some reason, Ukraine is so important. For some reason, Israel is so important. And unfortunately, the reason it's important is because it's profitable and it puts money into the pockets of folks who are invested in the military industrial complex. And to me, that's people like Nikki Haley. That's what she represents. She represents that Dick, Liz Cheney group of Republicans, Mitt Romney, John McCain, these people that just want wars because it's extremely profitable to them. Halliburton, groups like that. It's unfortunate. And this is one of the reasons why, when I was developing my political identity, when I was younger, that I was so opposed to Republican policy. It was because of their stance on war. And I've always given Trump, and again, I said it before, it may be because he's an opportunist, but one of the things that I really agree with him is that he is not interested in these foreign conflicts, and his approach to them is very strong. We didn't have stuff like this going on when he was in office, and he's absolutely right about that. And it might be because, people thought he was crazy, but, I'm okay with that when it comes to foreign policy. I do give President Biden a lot of compliments and praise for, what his stance has been throughout his career. But unfortunately, during his 4 years as president, I don't think he's been strong on foreign policy. I've been very critical of him, and rightfully so. I think he's made a good amount of missteps when it comes to foreign policy. Right now, CNN is showing some entrance polling. Right now, interesting number. Do you think Biden legitimately won in 2020? 68% said no. That's pretty consistent with how I feel that Donald Trump has about 66% of Republican support regardless. I don't think that'll change. Here's the next question. Is Trump fit for presidency even if he's convicted of a crime? 63% said yes. Again, these folks are ride or die with President Trump. And, he's infallible to them. I've always made my position clear. I'm not a huge fan of Trump's. I like certain policy stances that he has. I refuse to be a crazy hater, though. I just think that it does a disservice to the system. I don't believe in the doom theories that a lot of anti-Trumpers have. I don't think that the world would fall apart if he was president again. And a lot of this boils down to me also thinking that I don't think that President Biden is all that great of a president. I think there's so many other great options out there, but we've been programmed to pick one of two teams. And, I'm guilty of this. Like I said, I'm a Democrat. I will always be a Democrat. I believe that we're the big tent party. I believe that, everyone has a seat at the table in the Democratic Party. I feel like that's how it's been my whole life. I still do, for the most part. I think that a lot of people don't want somebody like Donald Trump at the table. And to some extent, I can see why they feel that way. I still want them to come and eat at my table, though. Recently, when we were working on the Issue 1 campaign, I can't tell you how many Trumpers voted no in the summer on Issue 1. And then in the fall, who voted yes on Issue 1. A lot of them are family members and close friends of mine. They they're independent thinkers. They're free thinkers. They're going to make up their own mind. And there's a lot of things that Donald Trump stands for that they just frankly relate to, that resonate with them. And that's why they support him. And again, that's okay. This notion that we should demonize people for supporting him is just outrageous. And, the media strategy and the Democratic Party strategy has just been so poor with how they handle this. They encourage and empower him. And independent voters who, aren't as engaged as we are, like, why are they picking on this dude so much? Like, and these are honest conversations that, I've had with people that are honestly middle of the ground people. They don't have Trump flags in front of their house. They don't have a Confederate flag in front of their house. They simply think that he is a better choice to be a leader. And again, I know a lot of his supporters are crazy. I've worked in rural parts of the country this last decade, and I've seen it firsthand. I've had conversations with these folks. But when you go into other areas of the country, and even in some of those rural places, you can have an articulate conversation and they voice legitimate things that are going on in their lives, which is why they're upset and they view him favorably. For decades now, almost going back to President Kennedy, the regular guy has not been represented by these folks in Washington, D.C. Again, I'm very fortunate. I live in Ohio's 13th district. I have Amelia Sykes as my congresswoman, and she is unequivocally one of the best in the whole country. A true moderate who listens to everybody. I've seen her engage with Donald Trump supporting union members and them walk away impressed with her. She is the total package. I wish she was the Democratic nominee this time. And I'm looking forward to that maybe being, a scenario in the not too distant future. And anybody who's tuning into this, I would really encourage you to do research on Amelia and look into her. I do think she's the cream of the crop when it comes to, the folks in the House of Representatives. I think she's the best out there. And again, I know there's a lot of representatives that we have, and I'll admit I don't know who all of them are, but Amelia is the best of the best. And it's just hard for me to imagine that there's anyone better than her. And again, I'll be direct and honest. I'm sure there are, a couple Republicans, a couple other Democrats who are very solid, who truly value the opinion of everyone, that will vote bipartisanly, that will just not follow their marching orders from, either Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Mitch McConnell or any of the other dinosaurs that have been in the swamp for all these decades. And, that's another thing that I like about Trump is the term swamp. Now, he said he would drain it. He didn't. He failed in that. He actually learned how to swim in the swamp, if you want me to be honest, because most of his appointees were, swamp dwellers themselves. They were the crocodiles. They were the alligators who have been eating us for decades, who just, continue to be reelected time after time after time after time. And, I'm a firm believer that we need term limits on these seats. I don't like how long a lot of these folks have been in there on both sides of the aisle, because all that they do is they become shills for special interest. Whichever side of the aisle they're on, they're going to represent the folks that put more money into their pockets. And, a lot of this goes to what's going on with Hunter Biden that I don't like right now. And again, to be fully transparent, when people say the Biden crime family, I don't necessarily disagree with that assessment. They're getting money from foreign entities. They're getting money from special interest here. And I frankly don't like it. I think that the rules need to be reined in and changed, but they won't, because it benefits too many people that are in power, that have been in Washington, D.C. for decades and really don't give a crap about anybody in mainstream America. Most of these people in D.C., in the House and the Senate, they're just so out of touch with us. They don't understand the struggles that we go through. They don't sympathize. When one of their family members gets addicted to drugs, they're able to send them to an expensive rehabilitation center. When one of our families get addicted to drugs, they end up overdosing on fentanyl and dying because we don't have the resources or the means that they have.
The microphone. One day, my friend, you too might be able to use one of these. You're very cute. So there you go.
I'm just watching some of the coverage right now on CNN. There's 6 minutes until the caucus begins. Again, I guess let me explain what a caucus is and how it differs from traditional voting. So in a caucus format, all of us are kind of used to going to vote at their precinct polling location. What happens in a caucus is that people show up at that precinct voting location and they actually get a pitch from a representative from the candidates that are running. And then at that point, they're able to kind of pick their allegiances. So kind of how there's an influence factor to caucuses that are different, which is why, I don't necessarily agree with how the polling has broken down in these races. And, I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump actually does a little bit better than even I predicted. And my numbers have him higher than, the polling and the media does. I just think that this format is something where he will be very strong in. His people are very, very persuasive. They're very strong in their convictions. They firmly believe what they say. Now I'm looking at an MSNBC entrance poll. Again, they have the same number of 68% of the voters they've spoken to, have doubts about the legitimacy of the 2020 election. And I mean, to me, and I'll give my honest and real take here, I believe that President Biden was duly elected. But, I think the COVID restrictions really helped him significantly. I think the availability of mail-in balloting helped him significantly. Do I think that is considered illegitimate? No, I don't. I would like for voting to get back to a more traditional method. I do like absentee and early voting. I've been going to the Board of Elections now since I've been traveling prior to this current gig that I had and what I'm hoping will be my career. I have been early voting for close to 5 years, and I love it. I love going down to the Board of Elections early, casting my ballot, getting it out of the way. I've never been a fan of the mail-in ballot, though. I don't love it. I don't. Now, I do believe there should be exceptions for the mail-in votes. I believe our military, absolutely. And I believe that folks who travel for work have the right to vote via the mail. However, I just don't think that somebody who lives down the street should be able to just cast a ballot via the mail. It's just something that I feel pretty strongly about. Again, I don't think that there's fraud in that system, but I think that, active participation and showing up is something that should be required. So part of the MSNBC poll, which differs from the CNN poll, is, are you a part of the mega movement? And only 49% of people said yes to that. So that's a significantly lower number than was in the CNN poll. Their number to the question of if Trump is convicted is 64%. That, again, is consistent with, how I feel about Trump's strength of 66% of the voting populace supporting him.
And given what Biden has allowed to happen to this country, just in the last 3 years.
Okay, so my TV is a little bit behind, so I do believe that the doors are now closed for the caucus. I'm going through as many channels as I can on the news right now and just trying to get as much information as possible. I'm going to switch it over to Fox to get some of their take on what's going on right now. And I'm going to fire up a couple different YouTube streamers just to have in the background while I stream as well.
And then the whole basket's counted in front of everybody. This is about as basic as it gets, and it's a good thing. No machines, no harvesting, no drop boxes, and those results will come trickling in at any second. And we'll know the winner tonight.
Fox is talking conspiracy right now. Surprise, surprise. They have Jesse Waters leading their coverage. Again, I think he's kind of funny at times. He's a douchebag, though, if you want me to be honest. But he is funny from time to time. I like some of the things he says. CNN is at a venue in Clive, Iowa right now. They're getting some instant reaction. It looks like they're at a site where Vivek potentially is going to be giving his own speech. So yeah, to get back into what a caucus is. So at all these different sites, there's a representative for each campaign. I'd be surprised if Ada Hutchinson is able to staff somebody at every site, but I know the other four candidates have somebody at each and every site. So they get up, they give a pitch, and you go to their areas of the gymnasium, the hall, whatever venue you're in, and that's how you support your candidate. The Democrats are not having this type of format this year. To be honest, I don't even know who made the Iowa ballot besides President Biden. I don't know if Marianne Williamson or Dean Phillips are on their ballot. I know some of the states are really working hard to make sure they're not on the ballot, which is, incredibly disappointing to me. I was not a fan of how Bernie Sanders was treated in 2016. I felt like he would have been a much more viable candidate than Hillary Clinton was. I am not a fan of the Clinton regime. I think that the Democratic Party needs to move past that. And I think that Bernie Sanders was essentially disenfranchised by the Democratic Party establishment in 2016. I have just switched over to C-SPAN, and they are, C-SPAN is really great, to be honest with you. They do an awesome job of, no opinion. They stick to, I don't even want to say the facts. They just let people speak, and they let you judge for yourself, what's going on. So I'm a huge fan of C-SPAN. They're in Boone, Iowa right now. You see a lot of people enthusiastic for Trump in this picture that I'm watching right now. Let's see what the other C-SPAN channels are covering right now. They're just showing people that are coming into a caucus site. Really, like I said, C-SPAN does a good job of.
It's really a significant function of the Iowa caucuses, this winnowing.
So C-SPAN 2 has a professor from Iowa State and a professor from Washburn University on, but they're showing pictures of inside of a caucus, having a very civil, honest debate, it looks like. And I guess there's honestly 18 candidates that are up for this right now. It looks like that wherever they're at, that Marjorie Taylor Greene is Trump's surrogate at this site. I'm not a fan. I'll be honest. I think she's kind of loco. I'll give her credit for being principled in her beliefs. It seems like that she does believe in what she says, but that's the only compliment I'm going to give her. She's not my cup of tea. I'll put it to you that way. I view Trump considerably more favorably than I do her. I think she's one of his more loco supporters, if I'm being completely honest and transparent. Got some, Nikki Haley support in this gymnasium. They're showing right now. They're showing her section. And, to be honest, she has a good amount of people sitting in that section. Looks like a lot of these people are trying to, at least be open-minded. This is very similar to an event that I attended last week for my good friend Mandy Wagner. She is going to be one of President Biden's delegates at the Democratic Party National Convention in Chicago this summer. President Biden will get the nomination, spoiler alert, and she'll be able to be there for that. So I'm a huge fan of Mandy's, and I'm excited for her to have this opportunity. She is one of the people that I admire the most that I've met in this political journey. So they're showing some more polling on CNN, and people that are identifying as very conservative, 62% are saying they're, supporting Donald Trump. Nikki Haley only has 5% of that support. So, I think this is buying into the belief that I have that Ron DeSantis is going to finish in second place tonight. They're bringing up an independent, the Republicans that lean independent, 47% support Trump, 20 support Haley, and 19 support Ramaswamy. I might have underestimated Vivek a little bit more among the Iowa voter. I do think that if he sticks around, there are states where he would play better than Iowa, but That's extremely interesting to see how the Republican / independent leading voters are going. I wonder if there's any shot that Ramaswamy could come in third ahead of Haley. That's something that I really didn't consider, but with what I'm looking at with some of these polling data, it might, or entrance polling data, I should be specific in saying that it doesn't look like that's an impossibility this evening. I'm gonna go switch back to Fox and see what they're saying right now. I haven't seen any polling information on there. Oh, well, it's their decision desk is saying that they believe Trump already has a commanding lead, which, I mean, you don't need Captain Obvious to tell you that. I'm going to be checking the New York Times occasionally. They are my trusted source for, results as they come in. On that thrilling night in November, when my good friend Billy Scheer was elected mayor of Canton, the New York Times, they didn't break his victory, but they broke the victory for issue 1, giving women the right to, their own health care, essentially. A lot of people wanted to call it abortion, but, that really wasn't accurate. That was fear-mongering by the extreme right. Some of their talking points were just insane during the issue 1 campaign. There were people that were talking about trans kids, which, I mean, was so just so out of left field and had nothing to do with what issue 1 is, but they wanted to scare independent voters. But, we were out in the field, and like I said, Stark County is a very, very purple county at heart. And, there's a lot of ballots that are cast in this county that are not straight party line. There's a lot of people that, vote in much different, their ballot could have 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans. People are very, I don't know if informed is the right word, but they're willing to give everyone a chance. So if they meet one of these voters and they speak with one of these voters, they're more inclined to, not just vote for them, but give them a shot. And that could go with somebody who might not align with them politically. Like somebody who may have, a different ideology than them. So it looks like that, there's going to be some results that are coming in soon. I still think we're probably about a half hour away from that, but the exit polling is showing what, I predicted. We'll see how these numbers officially come in.
No county in Iowa, among all 99 counties, no county in the state, no county in the country has swung more from Barack Obama to Donald Trump than Howard County. It was close.
Wow, what an interesting take I just heard about Howard County, Iowa. They went for Barack Obama, and there was no county in the United States of America that went harder for Barack and then flipped to Donald Trump harder. That's a very interesting stat to me because, like I said, a lot of people on the left want to play this like these people are racist who vote for Trump. That's just not true. It's not true. And again, I've said it time and time again, a lot of his supporters are, but we have to look at the folks who, can swing one way or the other. What are the reasons that somebody would vote for Barack Obama twice, and then vote for Donald Trump twice. And that's what, I wish my party, the Democratic Party, was looking at in terms of strategy. Instead, we just always want to talk about getting turnout up more, but there's a reason why a lot of these people don't participate in the system. And we can win back. Again, I've referred to this number a few times tonight. 16% in my county, Stark County, Ohio, voted for both of them. And I think that number is accurate. A lot of my friends will challenge me on that number, and that's fine. They're entitled to their opinion on that, but it's just how I feel. I strongly feel that way. And I think that there's data and stats to back it up. Now, of course, we can't look and see, entirely who's voting for who, because, there are voter privacy laws and everyone's entitled to keep their privacy, which, again, I believe strongly in. But you ask me, I think that 16% is a lot of people. It's a lot. It's enough to swing an election, no doubt about it. And we have to find the reason why. And that's how you compete from a strategic campaign perspective.
She needed help, and I was glad to be of assistance to the plane to get off the ground. You're a good man, Bill. Ohio is a red state now through and through. There's not people leading the way in agricultural innovation.
I do agree with that assessment that Iowa is a firm red state.
And Joe Biden's wrecking their livelihoods. Just last year, production costs for farmers surged. But it's not just Bidenomics killing crops. Immigration.
I'm going to switch over to another channel here real quick. I'm going to do some online research, see how some of these. I have the earbuds on, and with those, I'm listening to other podcasters on as I flip through the TV and look at some other mainstream media information. It looks like almost every channel right now is on a commercial break right now.
College degree without college degree. What a massive strategic failure from Ron DeSantis out of the gate, who completely misunderstood where his natural coalition was.
So MSNBC has an entrance poll of the 65 plus, and there is a little advantage there for Nikki Haley in second place that I didn't see. They have her at 25%, and they have DeSantis at 16%. So I felt like Ramaswamy would do terrible in that group, and that looks to be the case.
We promise it is nothing personal. We have not banished Alex. It's nothing bad. It's just that Alex had a COVID exposure, and so out of impulse of caution, we were in an airlock studio. Alex, which we know. So.
Am I still connected? I think so. I thought I might have lost you guys for a second, but I think I'm still here.
By recent weeks because a number of really esteemed reporters have been talking about the way in which the Trump coalition, the MAGA coalition, has absolutely just.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question, what they're talking about right now. They're discussing who, they think that Donald Trump's vice president will be. And, I think he's going to go completely out of left field with this. I could see him selecting someone who none of us even know. Maybe a retired military person, I just feel like it's going to be someone that, we don't know. People want to talk about like Tucker Carlson or Vivek Ramaswamy, but I just don't see that. That to me, that doesn't make sense. I think that Trump is not going to pick somebody like Mike Pence, who ended up being a huge mistake for him. I think he used Mike Pence in the sense to get born again and evangelical Christians on board with him. And I think he's done with them now. I think that, enough of that constituent group is now firmly behind Donald Trump, and he has no need for anybody within the establishment class this time. So I think that he's going to pick someone who is going to be extremely loyal to him. I don't know how I personally feel about that, but that's my prediction of how he's gonna go with that. So MSNBC is cut in now to where Nikki Haley is speaking for herself at Des Moines. I'll be very honest. I like the pink blazer that she's wearing tonight. She does present herself very well. I really don't have many nice things to say about Nikki Haley, but I do think she presents herself well and carries herself well. Again, my biggest issue with her is that she is a shill and a puppet for the military industrial complex. She's a fan of never ending wars. She's cut from that, Dick and Liz Cheney cloth. And, I can't vibe with that type of Republican at all. The Mitt Romneys of the world, the John McCains of the world, I think they're frauds. They're the worst of the worst on that side of the party. And I just never could vibe with them. I don't respect where they come from. And I think that they don't represent people like me and you at all. All right, MSNBC went to a commercial break, so I'm going to go to check out maybe Fox News for a couple minutes here again, see what they're saying. Maybe switch to a different Iowa podcast stream.
Less than 5% of Americans are getting enough fiber. Balance of nature makes it easy.
Yeah, I'm seeing another, online podcast they agree with me in the sense that they do not think that Nikki Haley is going to perform as strongly. It looks like some of the initial numbers are coming in. Well, just based on entrance polling, no official numbers, but she is not performing well, which I anticipated. That Des Moines Register poll is very accurate. I believe strongly in the polls. I always have. I know that they underestimated Trump, but a lot of that is because of his ability to turn out folks in very rural areas who have never been polled before, and they're very difficult to reach. With Obama, the polls were exactly right because the people in the cities are much more easier to reach, whether it's via phone or, the internet. Those folks are easier to be able to make contact with. And
Donald Trump is not doing the Q&As. He's not going to pizza ranches. And
so I'm back on C-SPAN now, listening to the two professors debate.
Because he's so well known, they're treating, many Iowans are thinking of him as an incumbent. And so I think that it makes it easier for some caucus.
The area in Boone, Iowa is kind of showing how people are starting to shake out. Looks like the Trump area is huge. The DeSantis area looks big. I believe Boone is where Iowa State is, if I'm not mistaken. And
Caucus goers registering. Karen, could you talk about that dynamic this year? Because the former president has really tried to organize first-time caucus goers and get them out this evening.
Yes, he certainly has, and still has actually did that promise for me.
they're discussing right now on C-SPAN how Trump and Vivek are trying to get first-time caucus goers out in big numbers. And you know, the pictures that they're showing, Vivek does not have a very impressive turnout at this particular event. I can't tell if there's someone speaking still or if they're actually in the process of collecting the vote totals.
So it remains just to be seen how that all plays out.
Bob Beatty and Karen Kudrowska, have you both answer this question? Do you think the retail politicking that has defined the Iowa caucuses for decades is dying slowly, given what you were just saying about
Okay, so the New York Times is reporting that there has been one area that is reporting, and Trump was able to garner, 198 votes at that first site. DeSantis got 39. This is obviously a very rural area that is already reporting. I got the alrighty, we got another update in. So now there are two precincts, or no, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 precincts are reporting, and Trump has 238 votes. DeSantis has 4. It just updated again. Trump is trending at 67%. There actually is a precinct in which, no surprise, there is an area where DeSantis is in the lead. I'm not surprised about this. I did expect him to win a few counties and precincts, so he's still trailing Trump big time, but he finally has his first win under his belt of the evening. Now, when we look at counties like Des Moines, or like counties, I mean like Polk, Lynn, Scott, and Woodbury, those are the areas where there's a higher population. I do think Nikki Haley will do better because of the establishment groups that are there, and the amount of Republicans that have jobs there that are being told, we need to vote for Nikki Haley.
This time I ask you, or ask everyone to stand and remain standing for our pledge of allegiance, the invocation, and the singing of our national anthem.
I'm about to switch off of C-SPAN now, but they are at a huge caucus site. Again, I think Boone is where Iowa State is because I see a lot of Iowa State shirts on, but I honestly do not know that. I'm switching back to CNN now.
Let's take a look. Right now, in Iowa, Donald Trump is leading with 74.6% of the vote. Ron DeSantis in second place with 15.4%. Nikki Haley in third, 5.3%. Holding the rear of Vivek Ramaswamy, 4.1%. And Asa Hutchinson with no votes as of now. This is very early.
Interesting note.
238 votes.
Ada Hutchinson still doesn't have a single vote. Donald Trump himself, it appears, is in Clive, Iowa, and it seems like he is in a very, very friendly area to him. And again, with these early numbers, it seems like my prediction is right. I had him trending about 10% above where, the media had him, and he's actually outperforming that. So, Fox News is now covering Ron DeSantis. He is in Dupleix, Iowa. These folks, they pretty much know where they're going to be strong at. And they send their best people to those areas. So, the areas where DeSantis, Haley, Vivek are, they're probably going to perform better in those areas.
These are very, very small in number, but I point them all out because these counties, in some ways, symbolically or in terms of just raw number of votes, are very significant as the returns come in tonight. In terms of what that's going to mean for Trump and what it's going to mean for either of those other two trying to make some kind of statement.
MSNBC's data guy who I respect a lot, and I can't think of his name right now. He's a really nerdy guy, and I say that in an endearing way. But he knows the numbers game. He looks at things very much like how I do. He's emphasizing that you need 1,215 delegates to win. And tonight there's 40 on the line. Trump's going to get a large number of those 40 tonight. And then, it's off to New Hampshire next, where I think Nikki Haley is going to be formidable. I think that she's going to put up a good number there. And that might be the only state Donald Trump loses. I could see him losing in New Hampshire in the primary. This just in, the New York Times has declared Donald Trump the winner of the Iowa caucus. So, very anticlimactic in my opinion. This was obvious. A rally in none of the other mainstream medias are declaring Trump the victor yet, but I mean, the New York Times, they know what's up. They are very reliable. I know Trump refers to them as the New York toilet paper times. Actually, MSNBC has just declared Donald Trump the victor in Iowa. Again, absolutely no surprise to anybody. Again, this is no surprise what's going on right now to anybody. I think everybody knew that Donald Trump would be very strong. Now the question is, how strong is he going to be, and how many of his opponents are going to drop out after tonight? I expect that Ramaswamy and DeSantis both drop out tonight or early tomorrow morning. They have no path forward. Right now Trump's sitting at 73% of the vote, which is, it's considerably higher than I thought it would be. I don't think he will maintain that. I have him around 60%. If he can clear, 60%, that would be very impressive. I can't mince words. In this caucus format, it is a format though that I believe that he could thrive in. And I'm looking at some of these precincts. Like there's a precinct in Bremer County where he won 43-4 to 4. Like that's a butt kicking. Still with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 precincts reporting right now, and Nikki Haley only has 44 votes. That's not very good. Asa Hutchinson is still sitting at 0. Even Chris Christie has a vote. Somebody's voting for him, and that's funny. That's funny to me. Fox News has now declared that Donald Trump has won Iowa. Again, no surprise. I'm sure that I'm switching to CNN now. They have also declared, Trump the victor in Iowa. I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't think C-SPAN does projections, but if they do, no, they don't. I'm going to check with Newsmax now, see if they have anything. They're on commercial right now, and then I'll go to the One American News. They are also on commercial right now. So, yeah, it feels like that all of the mainstreamers have, rallied around the inevitability that we all knew that Donald Trump would win the Iowa caucus. Now the only question that remains is how big is he going to win it by? What's surprising is, well, not surprising, I think my percentages are looking pretty good. I might be a little wrong on Nikki Haley, and I thought Asa Hutchinson would get at least a couple more votes, but he's actually beating Chris Christie 2-1 now. So, he got 2 votes going. Oh, Christie just got a second one though, so he's already back into the tie for last place with Chris Christie. But as I look around in most of the other precincts that are reporting, Ron is in second place, and these include some of the populations. Now, Davenport is where I think that Nikki Haley will have a strong showing. And, she is starting to catch Ron a little bit more in second place. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Whoever Ryan Binkley is, he has 7 votes. So he is beating Chris Christie and Asa Hutchinson at this time. Yeah, this is very, very telling right now. Like I said, I feel very confident in my prediction numbers right now. They look like they are on track to be almost, if not entirely, identical. Trump's percentage is starting to drop now a little bit. Haley is starting to rise a little bit. Some precincts from Des Moines are reporting now. Some of these areas that are close to Cedar Rapids are starting to report now. And these are areas where Nikki Haley is going to perform well, as I said. When you get into larger cities, establishment candidates are going to do better. And that's what we're seeing. The first reports that came in were from some of the more rural areas, and that was where DeSantis was coming in second place. And now that some of the population areas are coming in, Haley's numbers are starting to increase a little bit. Again, though, Trump is at 62.5%. I think he's going to be very close to 60 by the end of the night. Just stay with us. We'll be watching these numbers as the evening continues to progress. Fox News is showing Nikki Haley right now speaking in Clive, Iowa. Again, as I said earlier, she's probably my least favorite of the Republican candidates as a neocon, extremely pro-war, has no problem sending our young people to go fight in foreign conflicts. But, in the game of say something nice about her, she does present herself well. She talks well. I like her pink blazer tonight. But that's about it. That's all the compliments you're going to get from me when it comes to Nikki Haley. I'm going to switch back to MSNBC now. They have my guy, their stats and data guy. Again, it's aggravating me that I can't remember his name because I respect him so much. He sticks to the numbers. He sticks to the facts. Steve Kornacki, that's what his name is. He is the best of the best, completely facts-driven, completely numbers-driven, no emotion, which is exactly what, I want. When I'm out there working, you know, I do have emotion. I want the people knowing where I stand, why I stand that way. But with, you know, how I get my information and how I want information sent out to the people, I want it to be facts and data driven and not opinion driven. So he's looking at Johnson County right now, which is the county that is directly south of Cedar Rapids, which is a population center. And that's an area where Nikki Haley is in first place. Like he said, people with college degrees, people with higher incomes, they likely, you know, work for somebody in the Republican establishment class. They're being told, you know, Nikki Haley is our best chance to win the White House. And officially on the New York Times, Nikki has jumped into second place by one vote. As votes start trickling in from, you know, these bigger population centers, Vivek is up to 7.2%. Chris Christie and Asia Hutchinson still tied at 4%, fighting for last place.
We've seen now several of these counties. We said the 42 Huckabee, Santorum, Cruz counties. That's you win the evangelical vote, you win Iowa, and DeSantis went put out all stops trying to get that evangelical vote. We've seen reports now from none of them is DeSantis.
I'm trying to get some more of the conservative news media takes on what's going on, but I'm struggling to find some of their takes on it.
But it leaves you in this situation. Just a benchmark for Donald Trump. I think we mentioned this at the very top of the broadcast. The record, the all-time record in Iowa Republican caucus for vote share is 41%. I don't know if you can see that, 41%. Okay, that was a very low threshold for Trump to clear. I think the question now is if he's going to clear 50% statewide when all is said and done. And again, the biggest margin before tonight over a second-place candidate was 12 points. Bob Dole beating Pat Robertson 37-25 in 1988. And clearly, he's going to be exceeding that. The question just is, how much is he going to be exceeding it by? And the more he exceeds that record by, the more you have to wonder in this battle for second place, does it even matter?
Could I just put an asterisk on the framing of this margin? Donald Trump, whatever he gets tonight, is going to be the lowest margin in the history of Iowa caucuses by someone who has already been president. Every other person who's already been president wins the Iowa caucus by default because they don't even bother to have it. Right? So they're not having one because the Democrats.
So the MSNBC guy right now is, you know, digging deep to take shots at Donald Trump, which is, you know, absolutely no surprise. You know that channel is one of those groups of Democrats that if Donald Trump said, don't eat that, that's dog poop, they would be like, no, that's chocolate. And then they would begrudgingly eat it just because they can't stand Trump to that level.
It's who you have to move. She seems immovable. She's dissatisfied with Joe Biden. And this is where the VP pick for President Trump, assuming he's the nominee, is so important. It has to be someone who adds to his voting bloc. It has to.
Far, Ramaswamy 18% and 3.7% Haley. Right now, the DeSantis is a huge number 2. Let's listen to the last few ballots that he has.
0-4 Nikki Haley. 0-4 Nikki Haley.
I'm watching Cedar Rapids caucus as they're literally counting the votes live. Very, very interesting process. it's really cool to watch democracy in progress. I'm not a huge fan of the caucus system, but it's cool. It's neat. I'm kind of surprised at how poorly, Haley is performing in this precinct. Again, I don't know exactly where they're at, but, she's performing below Ramaswamy wherever they're at.
Interpret what's going on here. The 03, 07, those are precincts, those are individual precincts.
That's what we assume they are precincts within some of these counties. You come to a big site, different precincts break up into different rooms that do their voting, and obviously all the ballots that we put in the bag, and you have the precinct captain counting the votes, and you see representatives at the table keeping count. Important to know, especially after listening to those disappointing entrance polls go down, people from each of the campaigns are there to watch this, to watch the count, make sure it's done right. If anybody sees anything, they ask some questions. You do it politely. You recount if you have to. That's the way democracy is supposed to work.
And there are representatives from each campaign at the table.
Right at the table, so that everybody's watching this transparently, as obviously the reporters are allowed to watch too. This is transparent democracy at work. One of the reasons you can get so frustrated at the distrust out there is that these are honest, hardworking Americans.
Yep. I really like the point that, CNN just made. As you know, I'm pretty critical of mainstream media, but, the transparency that we're watching right now is what it's all about. I think a lot of Americans yearn for more transparency with voting. Like I said, I trust the system, but I always want more transparency. I want business done in the open so we can see what's going on. I think everyone wins when, things are done in the open and not behind closed doors. I've always hated when government officials go into executive session and conduct business behind closed doors. I know they're afraid of lawsuits and, other consequences, but it's just not the way that government should be conducted. Everything should be conducted in the open for everyone to consume. And you'll never get me to waver off of that opinion. I'm checking some other independent media sources right now.
Yeah, and it's worth reminding people that in 2016, when Ted Cruz won Iowa, Donald Trump also.
It's important to keep in mind, too, that only 2% of the total precincts are reporting so far. So there is still a lot of the vote to come in.
Remember, George W. Bush came out of Iowa a big winner and went on to have a. What we're seeing is that those handful of never-Trumpers, they look pretty stupid tonight. I'll just be. There's really a chance for equal.
And Mike Huckabee just said the handful of never-Trumpers look pretty stupid tonight. And, I can't disagree with that take. To think that he's going to be weak or, vulnerable in this Republican primary is just delusional to me. I don't think that the establishment Republican class is very sharp. I think that the majority of Americans see right through them. They see them as neocons. Again, like I said, my biggest criticism of Nikki Haley will always be that group has no problem sending our young people to these foreign countries, fighting in these meaningless foreign wars and profligating this ridiculous message that it's humanitarian for humanitarian reasons. You're seeing that facade right now, And I was somebody who at the very beginning said, the people in Israel need to defend themselves. And they did. But at this point, what is still going on in Gaza is not right. And again, I don't want to take sides, but it goes back to what I said toward the beginning of this stream. The people in Ukraine, the people in Russia, the people in Israel, the people in Palestine, the overwhelming majority of them don't want this conflict. They just want to go on with their lives. They don't care about this stuff, but instead they're pawns in this, rich man's elite game of chess. And, they're viewed as disposable lives, collateral damage. And it's ridiculous. I can't stand it. I'm so much against the military industrial complex. And, again, that's what establishment Republicans like Nikki Haley, support. They're the people that invest their money in stocks like Halliburton and other, military companies, and they only care about what profits they get. So sending our young men and women to these conflict zones, it's no big deal to them. They don't care. And they pretend that they care. And it makes me sick. It does. I've never been a fan of that class. I know I keep reiterating it tonight, and they're the same names. They're the John McCains, the Dan Crenshaws, the Mitt Romneys, the Nikki Haleys, the Dick Cheneys, the Liz Cheneys. They're the worst of the worst. They are the worst of the worst on the Republican side. And, those candidates don't stand a chance anymore. Jeb Bush was their last stand, and he was vehemently rejected. And, Nikki Haley's being rejected pretty hardcore tonight. 18% of the vote is not something to brag about by any means. So far, I don't know how many delegates that Trump is going to get out of the 40 tonight, but he is well on his way to securing this nomination. And, like I said, it looks like they've already allocated 12 to him on the New York Times. I expect that number to go up as the night progresses. So, I'm still flipping back and forth to the different channels, getting as much information as I can. I'm back on CNN. They're showing Council Bluffs, Iowa right now. This is just really cool to watch. And they're literally like updating the percentages in real time as the guy says someone's name.
You can see the tabulation on the left side of the screen as we tabulate with them.
This is so neat. I'm going to go back to C-SPAN and watch some of their coverage right now. They're still doing some of the stump speeches right now.
And you feel like friends and family. So this is easy for me. I'm here to ask you to vote for my favorite president, a former president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. obviously, we have a big Ramaswamy vote, several Nikki Haley votes, that they're pulling out those, and reading them off as we watch democracy in action. But tell us more about the specific location and what we're hearing means.
It's old school, but it's just fascinating to watch. I can watch all night. It's good citizens counting votes and different people for different candidates, counting them honestly as we go through it. So we're watching. You see, as Brian Todd noted, you see on the screen right there, that's the count from this particular county you're hearing right now, live on television. It is not yet reflected. This is where he is. He's in Potawatomi County. Potawatomi County, southwestern Iowa, Nebraska. It's just to the left of you there. This is conservative country. Trump won this in 2016. Trump won it overwhelmingly in both general elections in 2016 and 2020. So this is conservative country. So this is where we were before these votes were coming live. We had these votes from here beforehand. The very first votes counted in the county. Trump ahead with 65%. So you're watching here.
So Council Bluffs is in Potawatomi County.
But as the count comes through, it's a little lower than that here. That's part of the challenge tonight. Donald Trump is going to win Iowa tonight. The question is, does he stay above 50%? How does he perform in places where he was strong in 2016? How does he perform in places he was strong in general elections as well? Are there any doubts about Donald Trump? That's what we're looking for. Or is it quite the contrary? And there's a lot of confidence and excitement about Donald Trump in the places he needs to win.
What's so cool about how they do this is
So you're watching these votes come
the county announces the vote. He passes it to one person. They check it. They pass it to another person. They double check it. I just, it's old school democracy in progress and process. And, there's a part of me that I love electronic voting, but the old school paper ballot is so cool. I loved casting a paper ballot just last week for my friend Mandy Wagner in the delegate vote. And again, I know there were only, hundreds of people there and not a ton, but there's just something about this that I love so much.
One is Johnson County, Iowa City, a more moderate county in the eastern part of the state, college area there as well. Another college area here, Story County, Des Moines, north of Des Moines there, where Haley is leading at the moment, about 25, 13, 10. This is a tiny, tiny smattering of votes. That's one precinct probably. And we have our first DeSantis County of the night up here soon in the northwest county of the state again. Northwest Iowa, South Dakota, and Nebraska. Think that. You're rural, you're prairie, you're out this way here. DeSantis ahead early though, 127 to 104 to 74. So you're watching the map fill in, and it's one now, since we know Trump is going to win, the big question is by how much and where. We know he'll be strong in these rural counties here. The question is, in these places here, this is where Sarah's been talking about in Lynn County, very early in the county. If Trump keeps this Trump red, that's a big win for Donald Trump. It's not a place where he was strong in 2016, and it's a place where in both general elections, he did not perform well. If suburban Republicans are coming back to Donald Trump, that would be a plus coming out of Iowa. But as we watch,
I'm just kind of, right now, I know I'm kind of quiet, but I'm just kind of taking in what I'm watching right now on the TV. I just think what CNN's showing right now is very cool.
DeSantis and Haley are congested together. That leaves it pretty murky as Donald Trump goes on to a state where he has done well in the past, New Hampshire, and then if we get consolidation, we know a little more. Let's listen.
This guy, he's pulling the votes out of a popcorn tub that's designed for popcorn. It's just like, it's so American. I keep saying how cool this process is, and it is. I love this right now. Some of the first votes are coming in from Lynn County, which is where Cedar Rapids is. That's an area where I thought Nikki Haley would perform strongly. And, the first precinct that comes in has Donald Trump winning there. So.
especially at a time when so many people have been told to doubt the integrity of elections, right? There you have, I don't know her name, it's a wonderful Republican official out of Potawatomi County saying, we're gonna count the votes. You just heard us do it live. But that's not official because now we're gonna double check the count. This is what happens everywhere, in Democratic precincts, in Republican precincts, in evenly drawn precincts, all across America on election nights, whether they're using a hand ballot like this and counting it right before your very eyes, doing the arithmetic we all learned in grammar school, or whether they're if they're using machines, but they can also double check the machines as well. There are ways to do this. This, to me, as someone who's done this for 40 years, forgive me for editorializing, is the saddest part of our democracy, that people doubt this. You're watching it tonight, Republicans, this is a Republican process you're watching tonight. These are honest, hard.
But listen, I want to emphasize to our viewers at home, you got a ways to go, okay? You got 105 raw votes, 28 raw votes, 26 raw votes.
Alrighty, I'm going to take a little break here, but I will be back.
There it is, 13 raw votes for Vivek Ramaswamy, so it's